I'm so glad you're here listening to the Sustain Your Passion podcast. I'm Genesis, your host and business development expert. If you're ready to make a bigger impact and income while helping others, then you're in the right place. Thanks for joining me, and I can't wait to help you sustain your passion. Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of Sustain Your Passion. Today, I want to talk with you about how to bring your 2023 vision to life. And I know you're probably like, what the heck? It's June. If I haven't started my work on reaching my 2023 goals by now, am I ever actually going to reach them? Or any other negative, self-defeating thought might be creeping up, right? But if you're here listening to this episode, that tells me that you know there's something still left on your to-do list. So there's something on your vision board for 2023 that if you don't get started on, you might not make happen this year, and you're ready to get to work. So I want to tell you about the goals I'm working towards and give you some advice and different activities you could do to make sure that you can bring your 2023 vision to life even in the next 6.5-ish months. That's still plenty of time. So if you are sitting there thinking like, yeah, I really want to do this, retreat for my business, or I really want to launch my coaching program this year, I really want to start a podcast this year, or I want to do a collaboration with this blog, I want to write for this blog or something like that. Whatever it is, the first thing that we need to do is get super clear on what done actually looks like. And there are some different schools of thought on this, but for me, I always recommend that you build towards your ultimate dream. Don't try to do a smaller baby version first. I will never I'm not gonna say never, but I have clients that will try and say I'm just gonna do a beta test this first round when they're selling their program. And I'm like, what does that mean? Why does it need to be a beta test? It's usually just that they don't think it's good enough yet. And to me, I would rather you work a little bit harder before you launch your program so that you're actually proud of what you're putting out there, or your retreat or whatever, then try and half-ass it the first time, assuming that somehow some big thing is going to change after you do it the first time, and then you'll feel super confident later. It's still always going to come back to doing scary shit. And I have found that people are way more motivated to do the scary shit when it's in service of bringing about their actual vision and goals and not their half-ass dumbed down version. So I want you to get really clear on what done looks like of your actual goal. So think about at the end of the year, what do you want to be looking back on and celebrating that you accomplished? And for me, I'm going to relate this back to an income goal that I have for myself for this year. So to reach that income goal, I have two numbers because I like to think in ranges. So I have one that's I have to make this much. And then I have another that's it would be so cool if I made this much. And so I know what done looks like because reaching the minimum number is my have to make, and reaching my maximum number is my really want to make. So for all of my planning, this is how I would interpret my don't beta test, go for the gold, bring your big dream to life advice. I'm not going to be planning for my need to make number. I'm going to be planning and strategizing based off of my, oh my gosh, I really want to make this much number. So once you know exactly what it is that you want to have brought to life by the end of the year, and you're super clear on it, and it's actually something that excites you, because that's honestly a big reason why people don't reach their goals, is that they didn't actually want to reach that goal in the first place. It was somehow arbitrarily given to them by someone else, or they, at one point got started on the goal. That's part of why I'm making this halfway through the year, is that my goals have changed this year. And I think it's really hard for us to project what we want to do 12 months from now and exactly what we want to be doing. So it makes sense to me to check in more often than once a year. And 6 months ago, I wouldn't have had the same knowledge, experience, or insight into what I actually want for the rest of this year if I had been planning way back then. So all that to say, get really clear on what done looks like and what you actually want. And then once we know what done looks like, we're going to reverse engineer back to today to actually bring the vision to life in little ways as often as possible. So whatever your goal is, so I'm going to use my example of how much I want to make each month, right? And I'm just going to round it and say 10K, okay? So that's a little bit easier for like numbers sake and all that. So let's say it's 10K a month that you're shooting for, like me. Or let's say it's building out a retreat. Like let's say you want to plan an in-person retreat this fall, okay? So those are the two goals I'm going to try and like give examples on. So once you know exactly what you want your goal to look like, so the 10K a month is super clear for me because I know once I have my money goal, I can look at my offers and I can see, okay, I have a $2,000 offer that if I sold 5 spots into my $2,000 offer every month, that would hit my 10K goal. So then I can ask, well, how do I find people for my offer? Well, usually I talk to them on strategy calls. Okay, so how many strategy calls do I need to take to find 5 clients? I would look at my sales call rate, figure out it's about 60 to 70%. I'm going to be really modest and say 50% just for good luck. And then that means I need 10 strategy calls a month. And then to book 10 strategy calls a month, I would go back and look at my growth on Instagram and my email followers and things like that and try and work out like what my marketing strategy should actually look like for the rest of the year. I'd probably look back at insights on what content has been doing really well so far by looking at like open rates on my email subjects, looking at podcasts to see what topics people are listening to over and over again. Look at my Instagram posts to see what got the most engagement, not just reach, but actual like engagement with the post. So like likes, comments, shares, that kind of thing. And I try and figure out then, okay, in order to, make all of those steps happen, my input is going to be creating content that people like and engage with. And then I'm going to ask myself, now, how do I engage with this goal in this way every day? Even a little bit. And of course, it's not going to actually end up being every day. But with the intention of it being every day, that means that more days than not, I'm working towards my goal. And that means that it's top of mind for me. So that might look like every day writing a paragraph to my ideal client and looking for content ideas. That might look like every day posting a story on Instagram or making a plan of what I'm going to do every day, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or an email, and like actually map out every single day for the rest of the year. Along with that, like that's something I did for this podcast. I knew I wanted to podcast like all year long. I actually went into my calendar and I created a spreadsheet that showed like these are all the dates my podcast is going to come out on for the rest of the year. I don't know what the topics are going to be yet, but I know that this is happening, right? I started making room for it. And that meant that most days I think of myself as a podcaster, right? I think about myself as someone who has a podcast to share information on. So in that same way, making $10,000 a month, knowing that that comes back to finding new leads, right? Which I do on social media, I'm going to think about all the work I need to be doing every day to hit those 10 strategy calls a month, to sign those 5 clients at $2K a month to make that $10K. So that's how specific I would get in reverse engineering my goal to actually bring that vision and that goal to life over the next 6 months. So now I want to talk through the other example of a retreat. So if you knew you wanted to hold an in-person retreat by the end of the year, let's say you're going to host it in October because you don't want to compete with like the holidays in November and December, and you still want some like decent weather. So let's say, okay, you're going to hold an in-person retreat in October. I would want you to get super clear on what done looks like for that. So the day after your retreat, what is true? I would want you to think about, what did it feel like? Where were you? How many people were there? What were the topics you covered? What are people leaving with, both emotionally and physically? What is the experience like? Is it where everyone is together in one house? Is it people book their own rooms? Is it that you're leading the conference, like engagements, the retreat topics all day with everyone? Or are there like small group activities? Is it all work and no play? Is it a balance of both? Like every little detail, I would want you to start getting super freaking specific of what done and what that vision actually is, and asking yourself things like, who do you want there? What types of conversations are you going to have? What personality types do the people have? And what food will you eat? Like every little detail should be thought of. And it doesn't have to be like in stone yet, right? Like we're still, multiple months out from October. You don't have to go and rush immediately and find the location. You don't have to rush immediately and figure out the food planning, but you do need to start having mental clarity around what that vision will actually look like once it's done. Because from there, then you start seeing your to-do list. Like already I've listed a whole bunch of tasks you'd have to complete, and then you can start ordering those to figure out, okay, in order to know, let's say one leg of that would be location. So in order to know the location of the retreat, I have to know where the people are coming from, because that might influence, where they'd want to go to. I need to know how many people are coming to be able to pick out the location. To know how many people are coming, I need to know the type of experience we're going to have together, if it's small group or like big conference room sessions. So I need to start really getting clear on the person that wants to come to this experience and what type of an experience that one type of person would expect to have and would want to have. And then all of my other decisions are going to be made with that person in mind. Because if I'm planning an in-person retreat for introverts, I am not planning on doing those stupid shit like icebreakers and whatnot, and like making people stand up on their chairs and scream and whatever. Like absolutely fucking not. As an introvert, I would never go to that. I would be planning something where it's like we all are staying in a big cabin together and we all have big gorgeous rooms that we can retreat to when we need space, and we have, one meal together a day and a lot of alone time for other breaks. We do some like private journaling, and then we also have some shared reflection time, or like parent share. We have a buddy for the weekend or something like that. Like I would be designing it so differently than if I was designing it for a bunch of extroverts that want to be going and doing a bunch of shit. Like they want to go on tours, they want to go to plays, they want to be around people, like they want to have a party on the first night. So it really would, in that case, like come down to my person first, right? And then I could start making all those other decisions. But that's going to give me a roadmap to start planning out month by month. What do I need to be doing in order to make that actually come to life in October? So being able to plan like this is so critical to actually creating your visions and manifesting those experiences and those outcomes that you want in your life and those things that you crave. So if you have some vision that you are hoping to bring to life this year, stop putting it off. Stop thinking that you can just it'll just happen eventually. Like it will not happen if you don't start working on it even the tiniest bit today. And literally the first step is just dream about it. Just dream, just picture it, just imagine it. Like in your head, mentally visualize that experience being true. And then ask yourself, now how do I make that happen? So all of the how details are super important, right? But first you have to know what you want. And that's why my very first tip is get really clear on what the best version of this vision actually looks like. Don't sacrifice and think like you're going to do a half-ass version and then start over and do it again for the real version later. Like pick the ultimate goal and plan and build for that now. And then start asking yourself questions like, what needs to change in order to make this possible? Are there other supports you need? Do you need additional logistics help? Do you need a person that you know in the area of where your retreat's going to be? Or like in my case, do I need to change something up in my marketing? Or do I need to be collaborating with more people? Do I need to look at ads? Like what might need to change in order to hit the numbers I need to hit in order to make my income goal possible? And for the retreat, like if there are things you can delegate, do it, right? And then start asking yourself, okay, now what does that mean this week needs to look like? Not the week before, right? Because you've already done that. You've already planned out from the day after it to like every little detail you're going to have to decide along the way. Start planning out all the way back to this week. What do you need to be focusing on? So in my case, for my income goal, I need to go look at how many people do I have right now in my lead, in my like email welcome series. How many leads do I have right now that might buy next month? And do I have capacity for 5 new clients next month? And if so, great. Who are those 5 people going to be? If not, where do I need to ask for help? Or what do I need to delegate to be able to free up some more of my time? So ultimately, creating any vision for the rest of the year, it really comes down to getting really clear on what you want to have happen, and then start asking yourself details about how, and ask how will that happen all the way back until you're figuring out what is the next task you need to undertake to actually then be ready to do the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, all the way to the end of that thing coming true. And we still have 6.5 months. Like that's a long time for this year. So if you started this year with any like goal setting, vision boarding, things like that, that like you know you really want to make happen this year, there is still time. And if one of your goals is to launch your program this year, like there is still so much time to do that. I have had clients that have started working with me and like 2 weeks later already had a program up and we're offering it. And within a month we're making sales. So it is totally possible if that's your goal. Making 10K a month is also possible. Hosting an in-person retreat is also possible. Like anything you want to make happen this year is possible. I truly believe that. Like there's probably a way. But the thing is, you won't start seeing those options of ways to bring your vision to life until you start getting clear on what it is so that you're actually motivated enough to do the work to make it happen. So please get really clear on what your vision is. Articulate it down to exactly what you're doing, how you're feeling. Like imagine being there and then build it. Like don't just let that vision and that dream and that goal fade away into the year and then wake up on January 1st, 2024 and look back and think, man, I didn't make any progress towards this goal. I really just gave up. When here you are listening to this episode, you still have over 6 months left in this year to make your dream come to life. And I work with a shit ton of coaches. So whatever the topic is that you're trying to bring to life, I bet I know somebody that could help you. And if part of your goal is getting your first coaching program built and launched and sold so you can start working with coaching clients that you love serving, then you might like my program, Passion to Paychecks, which you can learn more about if you find me on social media. All right, everyone, I hope this shorter episode was helpful to get you thinking about what you want to bring to life this year, to remind you that there is still plenty of time to make it happen, and give you the very first step as well as some tips and different activities you can do to start thinking about how to bring your vision for 2023 to life this year. I will talk to you next week. Thanks. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Sustain Your Passion podcast. If this episode helped you gain a bit more clarity, courage, or confidence, please share it with your friends on social media or in a text. It would mean the world to me. Thanks in advance for sharing this episode. I hope you have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon.